welcome to It's a Legit Metaphysical World. I am your host, Auntie Deo Belluscio, and tonight I am very excited because for the first time on my show, we are actually hosting a medium who is going to be doing live mediumship readings during the next hour. So we're very excited. So let's bring him right on. His name is John Russell, and he has been a medium for, John, what would you say, about over 50 years now?
Over 50 years now, yeah. Long
Long time, my friend. And we were speaking before the show started about the need in this world for people that can do stuff like this. I mean, I feel there are so many people that need to be healed. And
Yeah.
I think that's what mediumship can do for a lot of people, kind of to know there's something else besides this. Yeah, this isn't it,
Absolutely.
guys.
Yeah, absolutely. We do need that, and the world needs it, I think, more than ever right now. And paradoxically, there is all of a sudden this pushback against psychics, reading, the paranormal. It's really, really odd. And I always tell people, I said, look, there's a pendulum out there, and the pendulum always swings the other way. And then after a period of time, it comes back. And for a while, we were very, very receptive to psychics and the paranormal, the UFO, so on and so forth. And now that pushback is starting again. I remember when I was in my teens going into my 20s. And the first time I saw a UFO, for example, in the presence of witnesses, and I confronted someone to make sure they had seen what I had just seen. And they said, yeah, but I damn sure ain't going to tell nobody. And the feeling back then was you just didn't share things, whether it was ghosts or UFOs or anything paranormal, because you'd be made fun of, you'd be castigated, you could lose your job. So you just didn't talk about it. And then as the years went by, more and more books were written. We began to get TV shows about them. Psychics were interviewed on TV shows. Then they began to have like the Ghost Hunter shows, which I'm not a fan of, but at least it kind of opened up the receptivity or the awareness a little bit. And now all of a sudden I begin to notice, and I've discussed this with a lot of people, a lot of the podcasts I've been on in the past little over a couple of years. I've been interviewed over 140 times. And I've talked with some of the podcast hosts, some of the other people I know in the industry, and people are saying, yeah, they're noticing that all of a sudden now there's this increasing hostility towards psychics and towards the paranormal and even towards UFOs now.
Yeah.
So at a time when we need this, I think the most, paradoxically, we're getting this pushback against it. And I think a lot of that comes from the phonies and the frauds and the con artists out there, and people lump everybody in all together.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And like you, I'm not a big fan of the Ghost. I was of the Ghost Hunters show, and then over the period of time, I think it hurt our field more than anything, to be honest with you, on some level. So yeah, I'm not a big fan of that either.
Yeah.
Before we get totally off on a different tangent, because John, you and I could talk for the next 2 hours. I have a funny feeling.
Yeah.
Let's just bring in our first guest and see what happens. I'm just gonna be quiet in the background, and John, I'll let you do your thing. Okay.
That's okay. You can chime in whenever if you need to. Hello, Jim.
Hi, how are you?
Doing good. How are you doing this evening?
Very good.
Good. All right. Is this your first reading by any chance?
With the medium, yes.
Okay. Very good. And I want to keep this very, very informal, Jim, and I want you to feel free to ask questions. I want you to feel free to give feedback. The reason I do that, the reason I let my clients ask questions, the way that came about, I didn't used to let clients ask questions. And I would just do the reading, and then we would kind of wrap up at the end with a little feedback. And one day I had this repeat client, and I was going off on some tangent that the other side gave me. And the client interrupted me and said, John, that's all great, and it's all accurate, and it's all good, but I need to know this, and then I need to get off the phone. And I was like, oh, okay. So I also learned over the years that there are things that the other side sees that they deem more important than we do. So you may have issues in mind that you're worried about, and the other side may gloss over those or not even touch them. And so what I developed over the years was a way to read where I get input from the other side for you. They're going to tell me things they want you to know and need you to know. And at the same time, we're going to make room for your questions or concerns so that we cover both sides of the coin. See what I mean?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Good. And with that, I'm glad to just let you start off with the first question of something of interest to you, your major issue or whatever, and then we'll roll from there and we'll go with what they give me from there.
I'm just curious of what's going to happen in the next 6 months.
Personally, for yourself?
Yes.
Okay. I think that over the next 6 months, Jim, you're going to have to take this position of being more in control and more in charge and less reactive to things. So, like, I don't want to say no more Mr. Nice Guy, but almost that feeling. And I want it to be a situation where you feel like more that you're becoming more in charge and less going with the flow, not trying to please other people as much, not trying to be, again, the nice guy to people, but rather, I want you to look at the circumstances of your life right now. And over the next months, the 6 months that seem very important to you and that you're focused on, I want you to say, okay, rather than sitting and waiting, rather than seeing what comes down the pike, rather than focusing on other people's input and other people's decisions and other people's desires, let me look at where I want to be in 6 months and work on making that happen somehow. Let's figure out the steps, step by step, that you need to take to get there. And in the process, you may have to cut some people out of your life, or you may have to dampen their opinions or their input in your life. And you may have to reevaluate and reassess yourself and your own self-esteem and your own self-views and the way that you look at yourself. And you may have to say, okay, this is time for me now to take charge of this, take control of this, to move things down the road in the direction that I need them to go. And enough of other people and they're hanging on, or their input, or they're this or they're that or whatever. And I'm not saying being a jerk. I'm not saying that. I think you know what I mean. But it's just sometimes we have to put our needs out there, and what we need to do and what we need to accomplish, we have to make that a priority. And what other people are putting in, we have to evaluate that and say, is this person doing this because they genuinely care about me, or because they're wanting to hold on to me for some particular reason, some need that they have, or something that they want from me, that type of situation. So all those things have to be evaluated. Do you have a health issue you're concerned about and worried about coming
Yes.
up? Okay. I'm not seeing that. Now, again, not giving medical advice here, all the standard disclaimers, blah, 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 blah. And certainly do whatever your doctor tells you to do, and so on and so forth, whatever you feel comfortable there with, whatever medical opinion, valuation, whatever you're going through. But other than life's normal lumps and bruises, I'm not seeing anything that's going to take you out. I'm not seeing anything that's going to really make a major negative impact on your life. So I wouldn't have that great a concern. Now, there are some things that you can do to change your health situation and to work with your health situation that will make things better for you. But that's going to be a gradual process and a process of time. You're not thinking of gastric bypass, are you?
No.
Okay. All right. Good. I don't want you doing anything that drastic. Is there a surgery involved, or a surgery you're contemplating coming up of some
I don't
type?
think so. I'm not sure.
Okay. Not sure. Okay. I would avoid surgery if at all possible. I would look at doing some things to manifest some positive health for yourself. One of the books I recommend all the time, I recommend it on all the podcasts, the interviews I'm on. I recommend it to my clients. I use the tools and techniques in it. there's a book I'd like you to get, Jim. And if you don't write it down or remember it now, you can just look back at the podcast and, get it from the podcast. But the title of the book is The Art of True Healing. And you can go to Amazon, just enter that title in the search box, it'll come up. And there's an exercise in the book called the middle pillar exercise. And it teaches you how to activate 5 major energy centers in and around the body, circulate that energy and cocoon that energy and direct it toward physical healing. And I think if you'll get that, do that for a minimum 15 minutes, half an hour a day, every day, and just continue to work on that all the rest of the year, I think this is going to do leaps and bounds for your health. Work on that. Talk with your doctor, get whatever clearance you need to do whatever exercise that you can do. But just have some movement in your life. Get in some movement. And I think that's going to be the greatest thing towards moving towards resolving health issues and moving you toward a state of health. What I want you to do is get the concept in your mind that it is possible for you to be healed, to be in better health, and to use tools and techniques that are available to do that for you. So I want you to get that concept in there. Just think to yourself, okay, what if old John's right here? What if that's a possibility for me? What if I can do that? And then start taking those steps. Again, the other thing is looking out for yourself, what your needs, what your desires are, what you need to experience in life right now, and not allowing others to impinge upon that and not allowing others to dampen that down. Travel seems to be very important for you this year. So there's a need for you to have movement, for you to have motion. Take that vacation that you've always wanted. Go do something that's very important to you that you've always wanted to do. See a place, go to a place that has meaning to you, whatever. That's something that's important for you to look at and achieve this year. Did you fish, or was water important to you? Did you fish or like being on the water or being around water?
Not really.
No water connection there at all? Boating? Anything?
Well, we go on a lot of cruises.
Okay. There you go. I saw some water thing there, but I want to go back to the fishing. No fishing with you. Fishing was not a big deal with you. Was it with someone in the family that may be on the other side now that like to fish?
Not that I know of.
Nobody that you know of in your family.
No, not that's past. That's for sure.
Okay, so whoever's living is involved with fishing, but nobody on the other side that passed that you can think of.
No.
Because I'm getting fishing is a big deal, but I don't associate it with anybody that's there living now. Not a grandfather or anyone like that you know.
No, both of my grandfathers did not fish.
Okay, we'll circle back to that, but somehow there's a connection there with somebody that's on the other side, and fishing is like a big deal. So we'll have to circle back to that, but just hang on to that. Maybe after the reading, maybe after we're done, a few days, few weeks, few months, maybe something will click with that, but somehow that's important. So keep it in mind, because the other side doesn't give me things that there isn't some reason for, some connection to. So there's some connection there, and just hang on to that. We'll circle back to it if need be, but hang on to that. All right. So far, what's your feedback on what we've covered and what we've looked at and what I've talked about, and your way of needing to move forward and go forward in the next 6 months?
I think that's good. I gotta concentrate on what I want to do.
Yeah.
I know that. And the thing with my health, hopefully you're right. It's nothing to worry about.
Yeah. I don't really see that it is. I don't really see that it is. Again, the travel, the vacation thing, and apparently you do some of that. You do the cruises and thing. That's important for you. You need that motion. You need that movement. Again, the exercise, that's very important for you. Excuse me. Hang on just a minute, though. We're not done yet, and I want to go back to this. Man, this fishing thing keeps coming back to me and won't let go. So somehow we've got to figure that out, and we've got to resolve that. I was thinking of a possibility of like somebody that used to tie their own flies, or they manufactured lures, or this and the other, something like that. And they're telling me, no, 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 it's literally fishing. It's either commercial fishing or it's recreational fishing, but there's definitely some fishing connection there. And it's definitely fishing. It's not something associated with the fishing industry. It's definitely fishing. So it's either commercial fishing or pleasure fishing. And they won't let go of that. So it's like, and it's not with somebody on this side. It's definitely somebody on the other side. So if that doesn't ring a bell for you right now, talk with the relatives that are around, and talk with somebody and see if somebody says, oh, that was your great grandpa so-and-so and God, he lived to fish or whatever. See if you can find that connection, make that connection there, and figure out who that is. And let me see if they have some communication for you then that it's just that they're wanting you to know that they're there. It's some relative, and it may be a distant relative, but they're wanting you to know that they're around. And the fishing thing is going to be the thing that makes the connection, that makes sense and connects them to you somehow. And I think their main message for you is open up your receptivity to the other side, open up your intuition to the other side, to the guidance that they can bring you. Let that come through to you. And somewhere that's going to click for you. I absolutely have a feeling that it really will. And I want you to follow up with us down the road and let us know what happens with that. Because like I said, the other side just won't turn loose of it. They just keep hammering me with it. So I'm glad everything that I've seen for you, that you relate to that, you feel connected with that up to this point. But we got to stick that fishing thing in there and keep that in there, because somewhere down the road that's going to be important. Do you write, or have you ever thought about writing something?
No.
Have you thought about writing anything?
No.
You need to think about writing something. There's something that you need to write. You like to play your cards close to your vest, and you don't like to open up much, and you don't like to let people know your feelings much, and you don't like to let people know what you're thinking much, and you don't like to respond to people much because you're afraid you'll give too much away. But within you, there's this capability to communicate in writing, and you need to do that. I don't know whether it'll be a memoir type thing or what it'll be, but there's experiences you've had, life experiences that you've had, and thoughts that you've had that are worth getting into print. And you need to work on that. You need to take that seriously and to work on that. Excuse me. And don't be, you're in some ways, and with a lot of people, there's very few people you let your guard down for. There's very few close friends that you let get close to you and that you let your guard down for. But what you need to do is realize that you do have a lot to say and a lot to communicate. And I think that people like you that have that personality, that play everything so close to the vest, a lot of times you talk yourself into the idea that, well, what I have to say isn't that important anyways, or it isn't that really a big a deal. Or maybe a lot of times you just don't know how to communicate what you've got in you. And when you learn to open up and learn to communicate what's in you and learn to realize that it is important and that other people would value that, that it would be entertaining to them and instructive to them, then you can say, yeah, I do have something to contribute. I do have something to get out there. So I want you to look at yourself in that light and allow yourself to express that. Does that make some sense for you?
Yeah.
Good. All right. So think about doing that. Think about doing some writing. Man, we got to circle back to that fishing thing again. They're bringing it to me again, hammering it home
I
again.
just don't get it, because I
Yeah.
really don't. I don't have anybody that I know of that
Yeah.
was into fishing. My family's just not into that kind of stuff. I have a couple of uncles that are alive that are into that,
Yeah.
but otherwise, nobody else.
Yeah,
Really?
this is somebody that's on the other side. And like I say, talk to the people in your family and find out who it might be, either a great or even a great great. Because there's somebody that's on the other side that just keeps hammering me with this fishing thing. And I don't give you this illustration to tell you I'm right. I just give you this illustration to tell you that I've done this professionally for over 50 years. And a lot of times I'll tell people I'm getting the name Jim. No, there's no Jim in our family. I'm getting Jim. I'm getting Jim. And then 2 months later, they call me back. Oh, there was an Uncle Jim that I forgot about, and that type of thing. So a lot of times we get like psychic amnesia during a reading. Um, One of the things I'll tell you an interesting story. I had my ex-wife. She had this grandfather that she absolutely adored, and talked about him all the time. And so one day he came to me in spirit and sat down on the bed with me. And he told me he was her grandfather. And I looked at his physical description, the clothes he was wearing, everything else. And he told me some things to tell her. And then he pointed to this hat he was wearing, not a cap. It was a hat with a little brim. Excuse me. And so I said, okay, I'll deliver this message, and I appreciate you coming. And he kept pointing to this hat and grinning. And I was like, yeah, okay, I got the hat. I got the hat. And he would shake his head and point at the hat and just laugh. And I'm like, okay, I got the hat. I got the hat. So in my way of thinking, it was like, okay, I'm going to tell her all these things, and then I'm going to tell her about the hat. And it's going to be, oh my God, that was his favorite hat. I bought that for him for Christmas, and he always wore it or whatever. So that's what I'm thinking, because he keeps pointing to the hat. So she comes in. I said, I'm 100% sure your grandfather came to me today. So I described the way he was dressed. Oh my God, that's him. That's what he wore. And so I said, he said to tell you this and this and this. She goes, oh my God. Yes. So then we get to the coup de grace. And I said, and then I tell her about the hat, and he's pointing to this hat. And I'm waiting for this big response from her. And she's like, no, he never wore a hat. He always wore a cap. And I was like, what the heck? So I couldn't figure this out, because he's making such a big deal pointing to this hat and just grinning and laughing. And I'm like, okay, whatever. Well, no psychic's 100% accurate, and whatever he showed you this for, I don't know, but whatever, blah, blah, blah. So it was 2 or 3 weeks later, something like that. And she was cleaning out a closet, and I heard her scream. And I was like, oh my God, what the hell happened? I said, she hurt herself, or a scorpion jumped out of a box, stung her or something. What the hell? So I went running in there and said, what's the matter? What is it? She said, look at this. And she was going through a family photo album that her parents had given her that she had never looked through. And she's flipping through this thing, and there's a picture of her grandfather in this hat with the brim, not a cap, but this hat that he was showing me. So a lot of times the other side will give us things that we don't immediately relate to. And if we pursue them, and if we stay open to that, and if we research it, when we hit that, when we connect with that, that's even more of a validation for us, and more of an eye-opening experience that the other side can communicate things to us that we have no idea about. So
Absolutely.
I'm glad everything else has been good for you, but keep working on that fishing angle.
So I was thinking,
Yeah.
I think I know what this fishing thing is.
Okay.
My Uncle Dickie, he's not my blood uncle.
Okay.
He's my uncle by marriage. He's my
Okay.
aunt's husband. He was an avid fisherman.
Okay.
He was definitely, that's all he did.
Is he on the other side now?
Oh, yes, he is.
There we go.
Okay, we found the fisherman.
We found the fisherman. We got it. We got it. Excellent. All right. Good deal. Good deal. So there it is. There it is.
Okay.
All right. So excellent. Now let me see if he comes through with anything for you, or he just wants you to know that he's around. I think mostly he wants you to know that he's around, and he wants you to look back at the relationship that you had, your idea of him as a person, and understand that he wants to utilize that to come through to you from the other side and to give you some guidance and some confirmation, some help, some inspiration. So just be open to that and just talk to him. Talk to him out loud, just like he was still there, because they hear us on the other side. They respond to us on the other side. If we take flowers to the grave, they'll tell us, hey, I saw you take flowers to my grave the other day. They know these things. They see these things, and they hear us when we communicate with them. So just talk to him out loud and say, hey, man, I appreciate you coming through. You came through, John. We got the fishing connection. I know you want to be around me. I know you've got some things to tell me. And then be receptive to things that happen in your life, intuition that comes about when they come through dreams, something like that. There will be this leading and this guidance for you. So that's why he wants to be there. He wants to be there in a continuing capacity for you. Okay.
Okay.
I'm glad we nailed that because the other side wouldn't
Right
let it
before
go.
we ran out of time too with Jim. It was
Yeah.
perfect.
Okay,
Perfect
Jim, I
timing.
appreciate it. I'm glad this has been helpful for you. Thank you for coming on, man.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
All
Thank
right.
you so much for joining us.
All right.
Wow. Shoot.
God, I'm glad we got that fishing thing. That was driving me crazy because the other side's like, don't let go of the fishing. Don't let go of the fishing.
Right,
It's
and when
like,
they hold
okay.
on to you like that, you're right. It's very hard to like shake them loose. It's almost
Yeah.
like that they just keep like hammering at you. You're like, I
Yep,
know.
absolutely.
I'm trying to make sense of this, and I just can't. I know it
Yeah.
can drive you crazy to get to that point. Do
Ah,
you need a few minutes, John, to like clear your mind before we bring the next person in?
no, well, let me get a slug of bourbon here and let's go.
All righty. Hi, Erin. How are you?
Hi, Aaron.
Hi, how are you?
How you
We're
doing?
good. We're
I'm
good.
good, thanks.
Oh boy, the energy's just blasting off of you.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it is. The energy's just blasting off of her. Boy,
Mhm.
look at, can you see her aura? I can see her aura.
Yes,
And
I can.
oh my God, it's just like, it's out there. It is really out there.
It's
Okay, so
powerful.
Aaron, that tells me immediately that you have a lot of inherent psychic ability, a lot of spiritual power. So that connects me with that right now. Your aura is so big and bright and strong. I usually don't see an aura that powerful, that strong, that visible on people. So that's kind of an unusual thing. It also lets me know, I get the feeling that although you may be aware to a degree that you possess this intuition or possess these gifts, have these abilities around you, that you somewhat dampen them or cut them off or don't give them the full acknowledgement that you need to and the full utilization that you need to. You identify with that? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So don't count things as coincidence. Don't pass things off when things happen. Okay. Don't say, oh, that's just my imagination, or oh, that's just my coincidence, or whatever. Don't do that. Allow yourself to experience these things and realize that a lot of these things, some of that semi-rejection coming from you toward the other side may be something that you grew up with or experienced in the past, or you were made fun of, or your family didn't believe in that, or all these things don't happen, or whatever, some type of negativity associated with that. So you have to move past all of that and open up to these gifts, because you have a potential to really communicate with the other side in a very dramatic way, in such a way that they're going to lead you and give you guidance and inspiration. And at some point, that's going to turn into helping other people with that in some capacity. Okay. Does that resonate with you?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Have you done readings for people before?
No.
No. You're going to. Okay.
Okay.
You're going to. And this is not going to be immediate. It's not going to be real quick. And it shocks me that you haven't already. But this is something that this is leading you to that. And it's a process, it's a pathway. And what you have to do is, I feel like you go through a process sometimes, Aaron, where things are a little bit, you haven't experienced, but you're skeptical of it.
Mhm.
Or you're skeptical of trusting your own self and your own abilities. And everybody that grows as a spiritual person, as some type of helper, psychic, whatever they are, we all go through that skepticism, that mistrust, that uncertainty, that second guessing ourselves. And that's good to a point because it keeps us from going off the deep end, and it keeps us from believing any old thing, and it keeps us from getting into the stupid. So that's good to a point, but then it gets to a point where it becomes a ball and chain that hampers us and keeps us from moving forward because the skepticism takes over, the self-doubt takes over. And so that's some of the things that you want to work on. It's just super important that above everything else, romance, any other questions you have, all the other issues that you may have, it's super important that the spiritual aspect be elevated above all of that, and that you become open, become receptive to this, and start working with this in a way to move forward. Now, we don't have a lot of time, obviously, but some of the ways that you can do that, take 15 minutes every day, get quiet, no cell phone, no computer, no TV, no music, get quiet, silence. And then talk to the other side and say, okay, I'm here. I know I have these gifts. I know I need to be growing. I know I need to be doing some things. Show me what those things are and where to begin and how to begin, what I need to do, what steps do I need to take, and then get quiet and listen. And it may come immediately. It may come in a week. It may come in a month, but do that every day until you get that. And then the leading is going to come through intuition, inspiration, through something someone else says to you, a dream. So it may be important to keep a dream journal. Okay. It may be that out of the blue, you turn the corner and there's a bookstore and a book in the window catches your eye. The title catches your eye, and it's like, you know, John Russell's upcoming book, 20 Ways to Increase Your Psychic Abilities. Whoa, that's what I need. So it may be something, some connection like that. Pay attention to those things, and when they come along, use them. And realize in this process, don't be frustrated that it can be slow, because we have these steps to get through and we have this growth to get through. But we need to pay attention. And the most important thing is when we're given things to understand or to do it or practice, we have to do those things. And as we do those, we get more, and we get more light, we get more responsibility, and so on and so forth. But if we turn away from it, or we neglect it, or we shun it, then the other side goes, oh, okay, Aaron's goofing off again. We're going to pull back a while. So you don't want that, because this is your time now to engage with this and to move forward and connect with this in very powerful ways. Go in any direction you feel led. The Ouija board, automatic writing, crystal ball, whatever you feel led to explore and let you develop, go that way, and don't put any limits on yourself. You don't need to join. Is that your little dog in the background? They're barking on the truth. They're barking on the truth. So just realize that you don't need to limit yourself, that you can go in whatever direction you're drawn in. You don't need to join a church. You don't need to join a group. You don't need to join a society. This is something that you can learn, you can develop on your own. And the more that you get involved with this, the more exciting it's going to be, the more this is going to be real to you. The experiences that you've had paranormally up till now are going to seem like child's play in comparison to what's to come. Okay. So it's going to be very dramatic. It's almost going to be melodramatic. And there's going to be a lot there for you. Now, you have a natural, like a mothering instinct, a nurturing instinct. And that's going to be enhanced through this gift to the point that you can reach people in ways that some other people can't. And you're going to be a very comforting presence in people's lives as you give them this information and as you help them with their circumstances. So one thing you can do now while you're on this pathway of learning to do this is be open and receptive to the people that are around you now. And when they say, oh God, you know, I'm going through this thing, I'm going through that thing, I don't know what to do, bam, and your intuition kicks in, you go, I know exactly what to tell this person. Don't be shy, do that. And you don't have to say, I talked to this medium and he said, and the spirits are coming. You don't have to do that. You can just go to them and just give them the guidance. You don't have to tell them where it comes from. Okay. And they'll think, oh, wow, Aaron's the wisest person on the planet. So just go and say, hey, look, you know, have you thought about doing this and trying this and da, 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 da. Because like Dale and I were talking about earlier, the world needs us right now more than ever. They need guidance, they need input, they need help. And you're going to be one of these people that does that. Now, I also want you to investigate. Let me back up. One of the things that'll help you in developing this, there's a book that's out of print. Go to Amazon and enter the title of the book in the search box. It's called David St. Clair's Lessons in Instant ESP. Now, it's out of print, but through Amazon certified resellers, copies will come up, and it may be $500 for a signed first edition, $20 for a paperback, whatever. You just have to keep looking until you find one that you say, okay, I can turn loose of the money for that, no problem. Get that, read through that. It's not a ESP course. The publisher must have retitled it, and that happens all the time. I can tell you as an author that publishers do that. They retitle authors' books. What David St. Clair did, he's on the other side now, but he was a paranormal investigator, and he went around the world investigating psychics, mediums, paranormal phenomena. And what his mission was, and what I've done in my third book, is the same thing. He wanted to find out what worked, strip away the dogma, the tradition, the ritual, the superstition around it, and just say, okay, you want to learn how to do something? Here it is. Here's how to do it. And so this is more a course in complete psychic development than it is anything else. And I think you'll connect with this. And if you rigorously pursue it with no self-doubt, because every now and then you got these little self-esteem issues and this little second guessing myself, don't do that. Go into this with confidence, pursue this, start working on this, start developing these things, and you'll see these things begin to develop and begin to happen. And then you can go, dang, John was right. He wasn't full of bull. This is really working. So do that, work on that. That's your prime goal right now, your premier thing to focus on and to do. You have got so many people around you from the other side, not just loved ones, but guardian angels, spirit guides, whatever around you. And you're going to learn through these techniques ways to reach out, connect them, be in touch with them. Who's on the other side that you lost, that you feel this, like this real clutching at your heart? I almost want to tear up. Who was that?
So I have a few people. I have a friend that had just, I have a friend who just recently passed away.
Okay. Was that a female?
No.
No, male. Who's the female on the other side that you've got the real?
My friend Heather.
Okay. You're froze up there, Aaron.
I know my screen, just because I wasn't touching my computer.
Okay.
So it I'm just
I can still hear you at least. So yeah. She's close to you, and just realize she's okay.
Okay.
She's okay. And she just wants she wants your friendship, your forgiveness, your love, everything from the other side. She wants to connect with that still. Okay. And I can just feel that between the two of you strong. Like I said, I just almost wanted to tear up. So she's there. What do you do creatively, artistically?
I sometimes, I paint, I do little crafts, things like that.
Good. Stay with that, because that's very important. And be open and receptive to the idea of working some of this. Now I'm freezing up. What in the world? Be open and receptive to the other side. Will play with the electronics a lot sometimes too, I've learned. Be open and receptive to working the spiritual inspiration and guidance into some of the artwork that you do. Okay. And I think that'll make a big impression for you. We're getting close to running out of time, so I just want to be real direct and just ask you what your situation is with your love life, relationship situation. What is that? We
have about 20 minutes, John.
Oh, okay. All right. So, but tell me what that is.
I'm married.
Married? Okay.
Yeah.
Make sure that you're finding your own way in this relationship. Make sure that you're being true to your authentic self in the relationship. Does that resonate for you? Okay. Just make sure that you're not lost, not getting lost. And always pay attention to this guidance from the other side. and realize that this is something that you don't have to become a hermit with this thing. You don't have to turn your back on your husband, family, whatever, but you do have to move forward with this in such a way that you develop these gifts and allow spirit to express itself through you and take this guidance and this help to other people that need it, because that's eventually what you're going to do. Okay.
Okay.
Also with you, there's a very, very strong potential for you to develop and utilize a healing energy for people, for literal physical healing. So somewhere along the way, if that doesn't develop naturally or like through reading this book, you may want to study Reiki or something like that.
I'm a nurse.
There you go. Well, but you need to integrate the spiritual healing with that. Okay. And let me tell you, there is a reality of physical healing through spiritual or psychic means. Now, I can tell you evidential proof of that. There was one of the most fun incidences. A buddy of mine that I stayed with before I went up to New York to be with my wife up there, met my wife in New York. We were good drinking buddies. We were both artists, and we had the best time together. So I stayed with him at his house before I moved up to New York to be with my wife. And we went to this neighborhood Chili's bar. Mm-hmm. And we knew all the kids in there. They were college-age kids that were the wait staff, and we knew the owners and everybody. And we loved everybody. They liked us, and we were good tippers and good drinkers. So, you know. So we were sitting there at the bar, and the evening shift came in, and this girl that we knew came over and flopped down on the bar and said, "My God, look at my lip." And she had, and as a nurse, you'll understand this, she had this fever blister, this cold sore that was developing on her lip. And it was like in the early stages, like the first day or so of the thing. And, you know, and this was like a goiter. This thing was, she goes, "My God, look at me. I'm a monster." And we were laughing. And she goes, "Look at this thing." And you know, as a nurse, that in the early stages like that, particularly one that's that large and that bad, even with medication, it's going to take a week or more to go away, right?
Yeah.
So I said, "Well, let me do something here. Let me zap that thing with some healing energy." She said, "Well, okay, whatever. I'm game for anything." And so right here in this crowded bar, I channeled this healing energy into my finger, and I put my finger about an inch away from it. And I start sending this healing energy into her lip. And she says, "I don't know what you're doing, but it's like it's hot and it's tingling." I said, "Okay, just sit tight. Let me finish doing this." So I did, and I said, "Okay, there you go." And she said, "That's it." I said, "That's it." And she's like, "Okay." So next day, the very next day, we're at the bar again. She comes running in, flops down the bar. She goes, "My God, look at my lip." It was totally, completely healed, smooth, gone, not a blemish, not a scar, not a red spot, not a mark, nothing. Completely healed. She goes, "My God, what did you do?" And I said, "The old Indian trick. I just passed it off that way." And my buddy was like, "That's some weird shit, John." So physical healing is possible. And then there have been cases that I have been involved in, been a channel for people that had terminal illness that were miraculously healed physically. Mm-hmm. This one case, and oddly enough, and this goes back to the concept of the wounded healer, and I don't know if there's anything to that or not, but oddly enough, I've never been able to do very much, if any, for myself, but I've been able to heal other people. Mm-hmm. And so there was this guy, when I was staying with my friend, I'd sold my car and all this. And so I would take the bus, and I was on a cane, and I struck up a friendship with this guy that had just had back surgery, and he was all gimped up and wore a body brace and was on, braces and all this kind of thing. So we struck up a friendship, and when we'd get on the bus, he'd sit and talk with me, and he'd sit in the seat in front of me. We'd talk a little bit, and then the bus would get going. He'd turn around, and when he did, I'd put my hands down at the back of his seat and transmit this healing energy through his seat into his back. So I did this every single time we were on the bus together. And within about a week or two, we stopped the bus, and he was getting on one day. The body brace was gone. The braces were gone. He was still on a cane, but hardly using it. And he zips up on the bus, and he gets on there, and the bus driver was like, "Holy cow, look at you. What happened to you?" And he said, "I don't know." He said, "My doctor said he had never seen anybody healed as fast or anything this dramatic happen after back surgery." He said, "I don't know what's happened, but I'm feeling good." I was like, yes. So spiritual healing techniques can work for literal physical healing. And I think with being a nurse and having that empathy, that empathetic nature, that desire to heal, not only from the physical perspective, but integrate Reiki or something like that into the practice and work on that as well. And I think you have a very, very strong propensity to be a physical healer at some point.
Okay.
So whatever impediments there are to you pursuing all these things, find a way to bypass them. Okay. And move forward with that. And again, the creativity, very important that you do that. Right now, it's kind of an evaluation period for your life, and you're kind of awakening to this. You're kind of looking at something. You're saying, kind of like, well, where do I need to go? Do I need to go somewhere? Do I need to do something? Do I need to move forward? What's going on? Well, this is that wake up call. This is that direction. This is that for you. Does all this resonate? Does it make sense for you?
Yeah, it does. It does.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Good deal. All right. That's basically everything the other side has for me for you. Do you have any questions for me?
No, I don't think I do.
All right. Good deal.
Thank you so much, Erin, for joining us. We really
Thank you.
Erin.
Thank you for having me.
Yes,
right.
Absolutely. Well, John, we still have some time left. We have, it's not even 5:09. We have plenty of time left. So what do you have for me? Anybody from the other side got anything for me tonight?
Let's see what I've got for Auntie Dale. You have got a great energy, and that's obvious. But you have got a there's like a shift coming in your life, like a change or a shift that's coming in your life. And it's almost like you're wanting this shift to come, this change, this progression towards something else. And it may be not necessarily, when I say progression, don't associate that with accelerated activity or more activity, but maybe a progression may mean a change to a less activity or less involvement in something that keeps you. What I'm seeing is almost like a dichotomy, like a split level thing, where it's like, okay, I've got this one interest here, and I can take it at the level that it's at, and maybe even add a little bit more to it. But some of these other things here need to drop away, need to go down a little bit. There needs to be a lessening of some of the energy there. So it's kind of like a need to move some things out of your life, to get rid of the excess baggage, to cut ties with things that sap your energy, that don't really need to be there, and some things that other people may say, well, why would you want to stop that or get rid of that or not do that? But in your mind, in your heart, it's like, it's time to let go of that, or it's time to make a change here. It's time for a shift or progression. Does that make sense for you?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Okay. Good. So that's the thing there. So embrace that, be happy with that, go with that. And again, kind of going back to like what I discussed with Jim, make more time for number one, make more time for Auntie Dale, and say, okay, look.
I struggle with that one.
Yeah. And most of us do, I think. And that's what you've got to do, and say, okay, look, I need to carve out this for myself right now. This energy, this time, this focus, this direction. This is what I need. And don't let, people pull and pry at you. And this, I tell all of my clients, I say the most valuable word you can ever learn is no. I don't have time. I'm not going to do this. I don't want to do this,
No,
So,
I tell my clients that all the time, that the word selfish has such a bad connotation.
yeah.
You can't be selfish. Yes, you can. It just means you're taking care of yourself. And if you don't take care of yourself, who's going to do it? Right?
I tell all my clients, I say, look, we're batteries, and we have to recharge ourselves, because if we don't, we run down. And then not only are we no good to ourselves, we can't help anyone else because the energy is gone.
Exactly.
So we have to do the things that recharge us and keep us going. And you have to look at yourself in that way now. And like I say, it may be time to let loose a few things or loosen up with a few things, and don't feel bad when you do that. And don't feel bad for taking time to put yourself number one. I saw you take that deep breath just then, like, yes, that's what I need. So,
I know.
yeah. So do that. Don't feel guilty about that. Don't feel bad about that. It's amazing to me the number of people that live their lives under the constraints of other people's wants, wishes, deadlines, timelines, and don't make enough time for themselves, what they need, what they want to do, and recharging their own batteries and keeping all that going. So that's the big thing for you right now. And that shift is there, that progression is there, and you just have to accept it and take advantage of it.
Yeah, it is. I have some major stuff coming down the road that I'm pretty excited about. And you're right. Yeah, my life's going to change pretty drastically in the next few months.
Which is good.
It is good. I'm very excited. But, like with any change, there's still that fear of the unknown that comes with it. So it's like, I'm excited, but I'm still like, okay, like, you know what I mean? So I breathe, and I have a lot of faith. I have a lot of faith in my guides. I have a lot of faith in my angels. I just have a lot of faith that even if I don't know how I'm going to get to a particular place, I know I'm going to get there exactly what I'm supposed to, and exactly in the place I'm supposed to, because they've never let me down yet.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
So
be enthused for that, and at the same time realize, as I've said, that you've got some things to let go of and some things to let loose of, so that you don't drag excess baggage with you. So don't feel like you have to carry everything along with you in this progression, because you don't. Very important to let go of some things as well as receive some things.
So John, let me ask you, since we still have a few minutes left, we talked before the show started about how desperately our world needs this kind of stuff right now.
Yeah, really does.
If you had one wish for our world right now, what would it be?
Compassion. Because right now we're a world that we're at enmity with everyone and everything and every concept.
Yeah.
And people are convinced that they read a quote unquote holy book and they've got the answers. And by God, they're willing to kill you if you don't accept those answers. Yeah. And that's Christian as well as Muslim and so on and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
We're at enmity with each other. We don't make time for the possibility of a dialogue. We're convinced we've got the right way, the only way, and we're willing to stack up cases of Bud Light and shoot it with a machine gun to prove the point. It's just we're crazy. We're out of control with things. And the problem underlying all of this is that we've reverted to this holy tribalism where our religious viewpoint, our moral viewpoint, our political viewpoint is the only correct one.
Yeah.
And we can't allow room for any other expression or any other thought or anything contrary to that, because it's heresy. And heresy has to be dealt with violently and drastically. And we have to get out of that mindset. We have to get the understanding that, hey, look, just because you choose a certain lifestyle doesn't mean you're out to pervert our kids or to destroy the U.S. or to do this or do that. We have to get this knee-jerk reaction to everything. We have to get away from that and reopen our hearts to compassion and understanding. And I think one of the great things that stands in the way of that right now, Dale, is we have lost comprehension. When I went to school, in elementary school, we would be given a story and we would read the story, and then the teacher would say, this is what the writer wrote. What did he mean? And you had to go back and say, okay, well, when he wrote this, what he meant was da 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 da, and you had to understand the concept of what the man wrote and why. We've lost that. And as an author, I can particularly relate to that, because I look at some of my Amazon reviews and I go, what book did you read? It wasn't mine. You claimed to have read it, but you didn't understand a single word that I wrote.
Yeah.
So we've lost this comprehension. I remember this this argument that I had with someone on Facebook, and they were talking about the book The Lawnmower Man, and it was in the news, big time about this horrific thing that was encouraging man-boy pedophile relationships and all this and all that and da 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 da. And that's the official blurb that went out. The book, The Lawnmower Man, I have a copy. It's a great book. It has nothing to do with man-boy love relationships, pedophiles, or anything else. It's simply about a guy who's growing up and recounting that when he was young, like 9 or 10, whatever it was, he had same-sex relationships occasionally, and wrote about that. And that was it. That's it. Mm-hmm. And then went on to recount his adulthood. There's nothing in there glorifying pedophilia, endorsing pedophilia, talking about man-boy love, but somehow, in somebody's twisted mind, they got that this novel is about promoting man-boy love. And it's like, we have all these knee-jerk acceptances of things. We never go and check anything out for ourselves. If someone says something and says, "Oh my God, did you see this? This is a horrific book this person wrote, or this horrible thing they said, this horrible thing they did. It's seducing our children and corrupting our nation, and it's antichrist, and it's this and it's that," and we immediately glom onto it and go, yeah, that's terrible. I'm against it too. And you never even go and bother to check out if it's true or not.
Well, John, you see that on Facebook all the time. People will read a title of an article and then comment on it and not even read what the article was about.
Not even read what the article was about.
And I'm always commenting on those things. I'm like, have you read what this article is about?
The article?
It doesn't even make any sense, your comments, because you didn't read what the article was, you know?
Exactly.
But you're right. The knee-jerk reaction to put something up there, and I'm like, it doesn't even make sense, guys.
That's what we've lost, and we have to get back to compassion. Yeah. We have to get back to looking at things and exploring things and going, hey, is this really real? Is this really what somebody said? Is this really what this book's about? Is this really what this article's about? I've seen so many, anybody can take a photograph that's online and then put anything with it to make a sign on it, say something that the building isn't really, or something like that. And we've seen so many examples of that on Facebook, and they'll take a building that's supposedly a government building, and they'll put a sign on it that it's some nefarious thing or this, that, and the other. And it doesn't even exist in real life. It's something that somebody's manipulated with Photoshop and put up there. And
so John, before we run out of time, how do you put more compassion out into the world?
I practice it. I try and talk with people in a way that's respectful, but that guides them towards thinking and getting away from the knee-jerk reaction and trying to have some understanding, and to have the understanding and the compassion that we are all just human beings. We all deserve love. We all deserve respect. We all deserve compassion. That there are people in this world that get greater chances and greater opportunities than others do. We have to understand that. We have to do what we can to help those people that are in genuine need. We can't lose that compassion. We have a saying in the churches where you're asked to give, you're asked to help, and you hit compassion fatigue. It's like, I'm tired of this, but you can't get tired of that. You have to realize that if there is a limitless God or limitless power or limitless whatever, that can express through us and guide us, and we can disseminate that. There's enough to go around if we'll open up to that.
Absolutely. John, thank you so much for coming on my show.
Pleasure.
I would love to bring you back again someday down the road, because I think it was a fabulous show, and we could continue this conversation for days. We really could.
Absolutely.
To everyone who is out there, next week, my guest is going to be Roland Comtois, and we're going to have a one-on-one talk with him about his mediumship and how he does what he does. So please join us for that. And in the meantime, namaste to all of us. The divine in me honors the divine in you. Have a wonderful week, everyone. Thank you.